Hey girl, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to the Good for the Soul podcast. This is episode 1. Honestly, I'm a little distracted right now because I was scrolling on Shein. Tell me why there's a Shoddy Bay x Shein collab. Like, and if you don't know who Shoddy Bay is, girl, we are clearly on two different sides of the internet. And I don't know if you want to be on the side that I'm on. But Shoddy Bay has a freaking collab with Shein, and I'm not gonna lie, I might check it out later. But anyways, I am so freaking excited to be doing this podcast. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. This is the third time I'm sitting here to record, and naturally getting started and like getting things together, you're gonna have technical difficulties, but someone was giving me the evil eye because why did it take me so long to get the setup right? It's just been crazy. But nonetheless, I'm really excited. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm britneydelsol, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you know me from Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I do a lot of vlogs of my 9 to 5 life over on Instagram and TikTok, and then YouTube is more weekly vlogs. Sometimes I go on vacation and I vlog that, but I try to upload there once a week, and then on Instagram and TikTok I try to upload at least once a day. That honestly has been a journey. I have wanted to do social media since as far back as like 2016 from what I can remember. That beauty guru era, I was so inspired. And I really wanted to be that girl, but me trying to make content that didn't come naturally to me is really the roadblock that I had for so long. On that note, I grew up in a small town called Moreno Valley. Shout out to my IE girls. It's like a small suburban city, maybe like an hour and a half outside of LA. Very interesting, because if you grow up in a small town, then you already know it's kind of like a everybody knows everybody kind of thing. And not only do they know everybody, they're talking about everybody. So it's really interesting, especially growing up there as a kid, because I always wanted to be invisible. And I know that's shocking because your girl's over here posting videos once a week and TikToks every day and blah, blah, blah. But I really, truly wanted to be invisible when I was younger. And it was just because of how insecure I was. I have always been thicker. She's always been thicker than a snicka, especially growing up as a little kid. Kids are tiny. Like, I mean, obviously, if you look at little kids, they're small, but I was always just a little bit heavier, and it made me so insecure for as long as I can remember. Like, keeping it so real, I still remember when I was in elementary school and me and my cousin were walking home. Well, she was a little thicker too. I mean, from my perspective now as an adult, I'm like, she was tiny. She was literally a child. But at that time, we were both a little thicker. And I remember we were like, not walking home, but walking to where we were going to get picked up. And this little boy, I want to call him something else. This little boy called us cow and pig. I don't even remember the context around why he said it or how he said it. But the point is that that's what he said. And we both started crying because we were so mortified that he would say that. Nowadays, I would tell my daughter to probably punch him in the face or call him something worse. I don't have kids. Okay. So maybe that's not the right advice. But at the time, it was so sad and we were so like embarrassed. It was just humiliating, especially because it was in front of other people. And my grandpa was picking us up from school, saw that we were crying and was like, what's going on? Like, what happened? We told him what happened. He told off that little boy. I don't even remember what he said, but the point is he was telling him like, you know, you shouldn't talk to little girls like that, blah, blah, blah. He started crying. His dad came and picked him up and saw he was crying, followed my grandpa's truck, like followed us all the way home. And when we got there, he was like, hey, you made my son cry. Like, what happened? And my grandpa explained to him like, oh, well, he made my granddaughters cry because he was calling them names and talking about their weight, blah, blah, blah. When I tell you that dad, real MVP, honestly, like talk about tier 1 parenting as a father. He yelled at the little boy and told him like, you don't ever disrespect women like, or girls, me projecting saying he's talking about women, but he said like, you know, you don't talk to little girls like that, and you go over there and you apologize. And so he came over and he apologized. Never again did he bully us or anybody else from as far as I can remember. But yeah, girl, I've had experiences like that happen to me where, you know, little boys comment on your weight, and from an early age, you just learn by society, by other kids, that you're different, that you look different, that you're not supposed to look that way, that you're ugly, and a lot of your value gets placed on your worth. And I cannot tell you how long that stuck with me. Like, obviously, I haven't unlearned a lot of that because there are days where I wake up and my body dysmorphia is insane. I feel like I don't even recognize who's in the mirror, and it takes a lot of work to kind of reshape the way that you think and to pull your value out of what you look like and realize that you're more than just your body. I really feel though that it's harder to change who you are inside as a person than it is outside, because you don't know how many gym bros are in the gym, but they are shitty human beings, because it takes a lot more to look inward and fix the trauma that you have. But being on social media and kind of recording myself and putting my 9 to 5 corporate outfits and stuff online, I do get that question a lot, which is like, how do you show up so confident, especially by women who have the same body type as me or other plus size women? A lot of that question is like, where did you get this confidence from? Or how do you feel comfortable wearing that? Girl, you just got to realize life is too short. If you really start to think about how insignificant we are on this planet, you will start to understand life is too short. You got to just wear what you want to wear. You got to just wake up every day and kind of just get used to what you look like. And the only way you're going to do that if you want to make content is to record yourself. But honestly, even if you don't want to make content, I still recommend recording yourself, because your initial reaction, like think about it, even when you listen to a video and you hear your own voice, why is it such a jump scare? Like when you hear your own voice, it's shocking and it's disturbing. And I think we've all run into that feeling. But the more you expose yourself to it, girl, now I hear my own voice and I'm like, okay, like I'm just so used to it that it doesn't really shock me anymore. It's the same thing with how you look. If you avoid looking in the mirror, or you take pictures a certain way, or you're always using filters, when you actually see what you really look like, it's going to be a jump scare, and it's going to be something that you're not used to looking at. But if you're constantly taking pictures or videos of recording yourself and you kind of just start to accept it, that for me has been a game changer as far as body dysmorphia goes. If you really put in the work to pull your worth out of what you look like and put it more into how good of a person am I? What good do I put out into the world? You'll start to not care, especially because the way I think of it is, I'm going to put on a cute outfit because I think it's cute, whether it's quote unquote flattering to my body or not. I think I look cute in it. If you go out in public and the first thing someone thinks when they look at you is, God, she looks horrible. She's accentuating her stomach, or she's accentuating her arms or something. If the first thing that someone thinks of when they look at you is bad about your appearance, I feel bad for them, because it's clearly you have trauma that you need to work through that's making you think that. It took me a long time to gain confidence and to kind of accept who I am and what I look like, while also still working to improve myself every day. And the only way that I've been able to do that is to really sit and recognize that I bring a lot to the table that has nothing to do with what I look like. Part of my insecurities too growing up came from being in an abusive household. My dad was an alcoholic growing up from the time I was born till today. I mean, he has a lot of trauma in his own life too, which only now being an adult and kind of working through all of that in therapy have I been able to find sympathy, and have I been able to actually understand why he is the way he is. Because a lot of times we see people and we think like, why are you like that? Or why do you not care enough about me to change and show up and be this kind of person? But when you see people more as just people rather than who they are to you, that perspective shifts. Because now, instead of looking at my dad and saying, hey, how come you never showed up for me the way a dad should show up for a daughter? I look at him and say, wow, I can't imagine being in your shoes and going through everything that you've gone through. And who am I to say, if it were me, I would have done this differently and I would have done that. You don't know other people's situations, and you don't know what you would have done unless you're in that situation yourself. Growing up with a parent that's suffering through substance abuse is also really traumatizing, and it really shapes the way that you show up in the world. And it did for me for so long. I feel like I always showed up from a place of insecurity, because it's hard if you grow up feeling insignificant or feeling like you're not enough. That's exactly how you're going to show up in the world. So it took me a lot of life experience and a lot of therapy to understand that my parents are not just my parents. My parents are people, and they had life experiences before I even existed, and they continue to have life experiences after that. For a long time growing up too, I had a lot of resentment. I had a lot of resentment towards my dad for not showing up the way I thought he should and not being there for me, and especially seeing a lot of other girls and their relationships with their dad, and then knowing that mine was not like that and can never be like that. It was really painful, and it really is a hit to your self-esteem because you feel like it has something to do with you. And I don't know what it is about kids growing up, but you can't see someone's actions and understand that that has nothing to do with you. Because when you're a kid, everything that anyone does is because of you. And honestly, now I look back, especially on how I acted as a kid, and it makes me feel so bad because girl, I was very angry. I was very upset, especially the older I got, the more resentment I developed because I felt like it was a direct attack against me to not show up for me, if that makes sense. I dealt with a lot of pain and a lot of disappointment, and only until I became an adult did I realize they were just kids themselves. And it's so hard to hold kids to a standard of parenting that some parents who are completely prepared to have kids can't even fulfill. My mom was 15 when she had me, and she got her life taken from her in a way. My mom is one of the smartest people I know, and I get emotional talking about her because she sacrificed everything for me. And it just makes me sad that growing up, I was so angry because she was stuck in a cycle of an abusive relationship. And from my perspective as a kid, it looked so easy as get us out of here, but it's not that easy. As an adult, I can look back and see how much she persevered and how difficult all of that was for her. She was the only person, and truly the only reason I think I made it out of my childhood a decent person. I can remember as far back as I can wanting to make her proud and wanting to make sure that her sacrifices were not in vain. It's such a shocking thing too when you become an adult and you really reflect on the life that your parents had before they had you, and thinking of how the hell did they make it happen? Because now as an adult, I can't imagine going through what she went through and then having to raise a kid. I really want to have her as a guest on the podcast too, because I am just so in awe of her life and how she became the person that she is today. Because looking back, I think she had all of the odds stacked against her, and yet she persevered. But it's hard when you're a kid and you're growing up seeing your parents in an abusive relationship because you only think, how can I get out of here? Honestly, like that's the only reaction that I had. I always wanted to get out of there, or I always wanted to be alone. So I really became such a hermit. I always wanted to be in my room. I was always by myself, especially because I was an only child until I was 15. So for those first 15, like formative years, I was alone. My parents were kind of always going through their own things or doing their own thing. And so I would get home from school, have something to eat, and then go to my room. And I was just always secluded. Or I would go outside and ride my bike or go outside and play in the pool. But I always did activities that were very solitary because that's just where I felt more comfortable, especially when you have parents that are arguing all the time. You kind of want to get out of those shared spaces and you want to just be alone. So I remember just playing on my GameCube or playing on my Nintendo DS or going out and riding my bike, like just doing things where I could escape. And I carried that with me, honestly, probably up until this day. I'm very comfortable being by myself and I'm very comfortable being alone. Being alone and being comfortable being alone was very much the way I protected myself growing up, because if you don't allow anybody in your circle, then there's no way that you can get hurt. But then it also led me to feeling like I was different or I was an outcast, because in middle school, elementary school, high school, I always had friends, but I never really felt like my friendship mattered or was as important as other people's. So I would be in a group of friends and I always felt like I was friends with all of them, but I was never as close to them as they were to each other. And I don't know if that has to do with a lot of just my insecurities and feeling like imposter syndrome almost. So it was hard for me to have close friends because I was always just used to having friends in passing and not having that next level of commitment where you have to call them all the time or you have to text them all the time. I just have never really been used to that. I want to say maybe in the past few years has been when I've kind of started to unlearn those habits of secluding myself and being alone and making sure that I'm reaching out to people, especially when you start to live on your own for the first time. I'm like, girl, I haven't talked to anybody in like 6 days. Maybe I should reach out. But anyways, girl, I am going to interrupt this trauma dump because I want to get through some of these questions that I asked you guys on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, it's at britneydelsol. I also made an Instagram for the podcast if you want to follow. It's Good for the Soul Pod on IG. First question is from Bikini Micah J. Shout out to Micah. Hey, girl. She said, how have your fertility treatments been going? So I don't really have treatments going on. I got that tumor removed and then the doctor put me on some vitamins just to get like my PCOS in order as much as possible. But I'm not really doing any treatments. I'm supposed to go back maybe in a month and do IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. And that's basically where they take your husband or your man's good sperm and they just inseminate you, girl, like a dog. But the reason that's supposed to be like better than just doing it naturally is because you're taking out all the bad sperm, like the ones that are deformed, and you're only putting in the good stuff, girl. So we're going to see how that goes. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic, but I don't know how well that's going to work just because I also have like inflamed fallopian tubes. But my doctor still said it's worth trying. So we're going to do the IUI first. If that doesn't work, then I'll do IVF. So that's like a whole journey we might have to go down. So I think I'm going to make another episode just on fertility stuff because, girl, there's a lot to it. Next question is from Sweet Tori B. Hey, girl. She said, new here. Have you always felt confident in your body? No shade. I'm struggling. Honestly, girl, no shade taken at all because I know exactly what you mean. Like I was saying earlier, I have not. I was insecure from childhood until maybe a few years ago. The only thing that's helped me is you have to learn to, one, accept your body and accept what you look like. And number two, realize that you're not defined by your body. You are much more than the way you look, and you got to just appreciate yourself for who you are on the inside. Next question is Cinderella77, but it's CYN. So I think her name might be Cynthia. So hey, girl. She said, where do you go shopping for clothes? That is a great question because as a plus size girl, we don't have a lot of options. And I know a lot of the skinny girls like to shit on fast fashion, but honestly, when you're plus size, you don't have a lot of options. Okay. So I am not a hater on fast fashion because I think that when you don't have a lot of options, you got to do what you got to do. So I really like Shein. It's really not the best quality, so it's not going to really last you that long, but it gets the job done. Another one is Fashion Nova. Another one is Pretty Little Thing. If you want to get stuff that are more high quality, I definitely recommend Abercrombie, American Eagle / Aerie, Aritzia. A lot of those places you have to shop online to get your size, but I love all of those. Same question about outfits was from Cassie Metal X3. Hey, Cassie. She said, where do you get most of your fits from? I would say there. I also shop at TJ Maxx. Don't sleep on TJ Maxx, Marshalls. They have some good stuff. Even if you're plus size, don't go to the plus size section, girl. Go to the regular section and just see what you find because the plus size section there is absolutely horrendous. It should be a crime. Next question from Hey Roxy. She said, sunscreen or lip gloss? Girl, you're trying to make us tussle because I don't know. I'm in my skincare era, so I'm gonna have to say sunscreen, especially because if you got a good sunscreen, you could just double that for lip gloss and be on your way. Next question is Alondra PV22. Hey Alondra, she said, how do you edit your videos? Girl, I do everything on my phone and I do everything on CapCut. A lot of people think I edit my vlogs on my computer, which I did do that for a little while and sometimes I still do, but it's all CapCut. YouTube videos, like long form videos, I feel like laptop might be a little bit easier, but I still do a lot on my phone. Especially if you are wanting to get into content creation and you think you need a MacBook and a freaking DSLR camera and I don't know what to get started. Girl, no you don't. If you have an iPhone with a camera and you can download CapCut, you're good to go. Start posting your videos. Next question is from LucyXO098. She said, what's your work? I get this question a lot, and I think it's because I make like my 9-to-5 content on Instagram. A lot of people are curious about my job. I work in insurance. I don't work like at Geico. Like it's not auto insurance or anything like that. It's wholesale insurance, so it's a little different. A lot of the people that we sell to are people who own like hotels or apartments, or it's like a property manager because there's like 100 apartments and they're all across the US. So it's really just large property deals. It's also for stuff like if it's in Malibu and it's a high wildfire area and no normal insurance carriers want to do it, then they'll send it to us and we do it. There's a lot of different areas you can get in, but once you're in, girl. So I would look up wholesale property insurance companies, look to see if there are any openings in your area. There are a bunch of companies. I started out as a technical assistant, which could also be called like a broker's assistant. So if you want to specifically see if you can do something that I do, maybe check that out. Next one is from Girl Greatest 75. She said, what products do you use in your hair? Your hair is beautiful. Thanks, girl. I wear extensions. I feel like I get this question a lot and I'm not going to hold you. I wear extensions. I got these done by a girl in Orange County, which I will link her, but you can get extensions anywhere and just go to a hairdresser and have them match them, or go to a hairdresser, show them a picture of what you want your hair to look like, and then they can help you pick out the colors of the extensions. Like there's a lot of different ways to do it. My hair, I was going from jet black to what I have now, so it did cost me an arm and a leg, girl. I'm not gonna lie. So maybe shoot your hairdresser a DM and see, but I feel like getting your hair done with extensions and doing something drastic as far as color goes, it's a little pricey. It kind of shocked me how expensive it was, so just keep that in mind. Next question is from Yarita 310562. She said, how old are you? Hey Yarita, I am 28. Like I said earlier, I was born October 23rd, 1995. So I'm the first day of the Scorpio. Shout out to my Scorpio sisters. I don't really know a lot about astrology, but from what I know about Scorpios, I'm like, that's me. She is me. I am her. I'm a Scorpio. I cannot let things go. I hate that that's the first thing that I resonate with, but girl, I cannot let things go. I'm a little crazy, but if you're loyal to me, I will ride for you through thick and thin. Okay. The only times that I've had falling outs with friends is truly because they've done something to me. And I promise you, people who know astrology are going to be like, that's such a Scorpio thing to say. But I'm so dead ass. I promise you. Like I have had close friendships that have fallen out. And it's truly because a boundary was broken on their end with me. And I don't play that, okay? We got to respect each other and we got to give each other the same energy. And if that's not what it's giving, we don't need to be doing this. Like, I am not afraid to cut things off. It's going to hurt me for a little bit, but I'm definitely a cutoff type of person. But I think we're going to wrap it up here. If I didn't get to your question, I am so sorry, girl. And if you have one that you didn't send in, send me a message on the Good for the Soul pod and I will probably answer your question in the next video. But don't forget to give this podcast a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Music. If you guys prefer the video versions, because that's how I am, girl. I need to see your face. If you want to see this face, especially because I got 2 cameras up, girl. 2 cameras for you. If you want to check that out, I'm going to put the video version on my YouTube channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bring it, girl. Bring the toy, girl.